Hey everyone, and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda, and in today's video we are going to be doing 4 easy Valentine's Day nail art designs using the new Pro Range brush set. These are the 4 designs that I'm going to be showing you guys. They are fairly beginner friendly, but most importantly they were really fun to do, so I hope you all enjoy watching. I'm going to be coming in and doing the red nail first of all, so I'm using Kiki London's Wild Heat for this, and I'm just going to come in and apply the first coat of colour. Now for the purpose of the video I only show you guys applying the first coat of colour, however on all of the nails I do 2 coats. I just thought it would be easier to just show you guys 1 coat of colour so we can focus more on doing the nail art because the video was quite long. So I popped that into cure for 30 seconds, did the second coat and then cured that for 30 seconds. And then I'm taking some of the Kiki London French White and popping this down on a palette. And then for this stenciled rose design, I'm going to be using the 01 stripe liner brush. So as you can see, it's got those really fine bristles, which is going to make it great for creating that stenciled effect for the rose. Here you can see I've got my second coat of Wild Heat applied and cured. I've loaded up my brush with the French White, and you can see I wiped off some of the excess. You don't want to have too much product on your brush because it will be a little bit trickier to control, especially as a beginner. Now when it comes to freehand nail art, I do still consider myself very much at that beginner stage because it's not something I've done loads. But it's definitely something I want to spend a lot more time playing around and practicing, so hopefully we can learn on this journey together. Now for the rose effect, it's fairly simple. I've popped 2 lines down to make a circle in the middle, but I don't want them to connect, and then I'm just coming around the outer edges of that and creating more lines. Now what makes this quite beginner friendly is because these lines don't have to be crisp or perfect. Because you're going for that rose petal effect, you want them to be thicker in some areas and thinner in some areas. So I like to come on and apply a thin line and then come around in the center area and make it a little bit thicker, if that makes sense. And then here you can see if I find that I've made too much of a gap between what would be those petals, I just come in with another line just to fill it in a little bit. Now with your stripe liner brush, if you want a thin line, then you need to apply barely any pressure, and the thicker you want the line, the more pressure you apply. So that's why I quite liked doing the rose design, because it gave me a chance to really practice with the brush and learn how to control the product with it, because all brushes do work slightly differently. So when you get a new collection of brushes, they may work slightly different to other ones that you've used. So that's why I find it great to do something simple like this, because you can just have a play around and see what works best for you. So as you can see, I'm literally just coming around and adding more petals until I'm happy with the effect. And then this is what the design's looking like so far. So I'm going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to come in and add some leaves. I opted to pop it into cure before adding those leaves. So if I make any mistakes, the rose is already cured and I can just wipe off the leaves rather than having to wipe off the whole design and starting again. Now, one of the great things about the Kiki London lamp is it does have a 10-second cure setting. So if you apply a couple of petals and you don't feel confident to carry on, you can pop it into flash cure for 10 seconds and then it will hold the gel polish in place, if that makes sense. So I do use the flash cure setting on my lamp a lot throughout this video, but I don't always pop the little card up that says I'm curing because it is simply just a quick flash cure. Now the leaves are pretty simple. I'm simply bringing 2 lines together and getting them to meet in the center, and I'm not applying too much pressure here, and I'm using the very tip of my brush to do that. And then I'm going to pop that into cure for 30 seconds. Now I'm going to come in and go over some of those petals with a second coat just to make them pop a little bit more. Now, you don't always need to do this step. If you do originally come in with a little bit more product on your brush, you can create a thick enough and opaque enough line that you don't need a second coat, because the French White is quite pigmented. But because I'd worked quite light and pretty much just mapped out the design, and the gel polish is quite thin, that's why I decided I would come in with a second coat, and you can just see it helps bring it to life a little bit more, especially where we're working over a highly pigmented colour as well. If you were working over a lighter background, you probably would find you definitely wouldn't need that second coat of colour, but Wild Heat is a very pigmented red. So I just coming over, simply applying that second coat. It's a lot easier to apply the second coat because you have already got your base down. It's pretty much just like tracing over the original design. It's definitely a lot easier than that first coat of colour. And then I'm popping that in to cure. So whilst that's curing, I'm just going to wipe off the excess white gel polish from my brush on a lint-free pad. I've not got any alcohol on this pad because I know I'm going to be using this brush further along in the video. So I'm just going to wipe off the excess without any alcohol because you don't want to keep adding alcohol to your bristles. So I like to just use the alcohol for a final clean, or if I've used a dark colour like black. I'm then going to come in and top coat to finish off this design and pop it in for one last time to cure for 30 seconds. And then this is the finished result. This one to me had that classic Valentine's Day vibe, but make sure you let me know in the comments below which design was your favourite. Moving on to the second design, and I'm going to be coming in with O Vanilla for my base. Now, O Vanilla is such a gorgeous creamy yellow colour, but it kind of has a bit of a peach undertone to it, so it makes quite a nice nude colour too. Now, I am going to apply 2 coats of this, curing each coat for 30 seconds, but again, I've just showed you guys applying 1 coat. To begin with on this one, I'm going to come in and tap on some of this gold leaf into the tacky layer. So once you've cured your second coat, your colours will have a slight tackiness to them, and that makes it perfect for tapping on some gold leaf because you don't have to add any additional product. Now I'm picking up my gold leaf using dotting tool and just placing it down on the nail. I'm trying to focus the more larger chunks down at the cuticle area and then fading the smaller chunks out towards the tip. I don't end up taking it all the way down to the tip because I want it to have a bit of a gold foiled leaf fade. And then I'm going to come in and top coat this using the No Wipe rubber top coat. And I'm top coating it with the rubber top coat because this is slightly thicker, so it's perfect for encapsulating nail art. And then because we're going to be doing some hand painting over the top of this, the rubber top coat is going to give us that nice smooth surface to work on because the gold leaf is slightly bumpy, so you would find it tricky to paint directly over the top of it. So just come in and apply a thin layer of that, and then I'm going to pop that in to cure. And then for this design, I'm going to be using the same French white gel polish that we used for the rose, and I'm going to take the 01 detail brush. So this one has the shorter, more compact bristles, so it's quite easy for doing smaller hearts like I'm going to be doing here. I'm loading up that brush with my gel polish and I'm focusing it more towards the tip because I'm going to begin by applying 2 dots. So I simply dot my brush down and then do a little swirl just to make that dot a little bit bigger. And I'm going to do 2 of these fairly close together. And then I'm going to take my gel polish and bring the 2 dots together. So just creating like a little V shape. And then I'm going to take a little bit more gel polish to fill in the center. It's a little tricky to see here because where I'm working on a shiny surface, the light's reflecting against it. So one of the things I'm going to try in the next video is to pop a matte top coat down and do the hand painting on a matte surface, just because then it won't reflect with the light so much and you might be able to see a little bit easier. But you can see a little bit easier there. It's really simple, just 2 dots and bringing them in with a V shape and then filling it in a little bit more to make your heart a little bit fatter. I'm going to come in and apply a few of these hearts all in the same way. So I don't show you all of them, I've just videoed a couple. Now, one of the tips I would say is I would do 1 heart and then flash cure for 10 seconds and then move on and do the next. If you're feeling really confident, then you could do them all in one go. But I personally do like to flash cure after each heart, just because I haven't then got to worry about whether I smudge any of the previous hearts or make any mistakes and things like that. And then once I'm finished applying all of the hearts, I did add a couple more, like I said, so this was the amount that I went for. And again, I kind of just followed the pattern of them fading down the nail tip. So then I popped them into cure for a full 30 seconds. And this now I decided we would do matte. So I'm coming in with the No Wipe matte top coat. This is my absolute favourite matte top coat. It gives you such a lovely velvet matte finish. And I felt as though the gold leaf with the nude base looked really pretty matte. But just before popping it into cure, you can see what it would look like if you left it glossy. I've then cured that matte top coat for 30 seconds and this is how the design looked. I love it. I would love a full set of these on myself for Valentine's Day because they're not too in your face Valentine's-y. You wouldn't even have to do all of the nails like this. You could just have an accent nail. On to the next design, we're going to be doing an ombre. So I'm going to be using the French white and the baby pink for a classic pink and white baby boomer ombre. And of course, I'm going to be using the ombre brush for this. And I'm going to be completely honest, this was my first time doing a pink and white gel polish ombre. I've done a couple of more easier blendable coloured ombres before, but I've never attempted a pink and white one because I've never had a good quality ombre brush. And I feel as though pink and white shows up the imperfections a lot. However, I did end up really pleased with how this went and how easy the ombre brush made it. Now, as you can see, I've popped down my baby pink and then I'm coming in whilst that's still wet and applying my French white. Now, ideally, you want to do this roughly halfway. I went a little bit too far with my pink. And then I'm simply going to take that ombre brush and swipe across the middle. Now this video is sped up a little because I work quite slow and the video would have been around 40 minutes long if I didn't speed it up. So it looks as though I'm being a little bit more vigorous than I actually am. But I'm basically just taking the ombre brush and sweeping, sorry, from side to side, starting off in the center of the nail and then working my way up and then down just to help blend the colors together. Now, because this is the first coat, it doesn't look perfect and that's completely fine. It will look a hell of a lot better on the second coat, but I've popped that in to cure for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to come in and do pretty much exactly the same. So I'm applying my pink, but this time I make sure just to take it halfway down the nail rather than 3/4 of the way. And then whilst that's still wet, so I'm not curing this yet, I'm going to come in with the French white. Now you want to make sure here that you be really careful that you don't get any of the pink on your white. So that's why I'm just taking my time to nudge it up. If you do get any on the brush, of course you can wipe it off, but always make sure to check the brush before you pop it back in the bottle. And then I'm doing exactly the same again. So I'm using more the tip end of the brush, so the softer bristles. And I work on the center of the nail first of all and get the harsh line to blend together. So I'm just going backwards and forwards to do that. And then I come down into the white a little bit and take that up, and then I'll go up into the pink and bring that down. If you see my hand go out of shot, I'm basically just wiping off the excess colour from my brush just so I'm not taking too much white into the pink or vice versa. Now before curing this, I did actually leave it to stand for around 30 seconds to a minute just to let the colours blend and flow into each other a little bit more. Letting it stand as well for a few seconds will also help reduce the effect from the brush bristles. However, once you come in and top coat, you can't really see them. And then here I'm coming in with the matte top coat, and I opted to use the matte one because, like I was saying, with the light reflecting, I thought I would test it out here just to see if it made it a little bit easier to show you guys the hand painting. And for my hand painting, I'm going to be using the Kiki London Black Heart. So I'm just going to pop some of this down on my nail art palette. And then to draw my heart, I'm going to use the Stripe Liner brush. I love this brush. I think I said it in a previous video, but this one is my favourite. Before we do the hand painting, let's take a look at the ombre. I was really pleased with how this turned out for a first attempt. That ombre brush made the blend absolutely effortless. Now we're going to draw on our heart. So I'm mapping it out first, then I'm loading up my brush, and then I'm going to pop my brush in the center where the heart will be and simply swirl around and down. I'm applying barely any pressure with my brush because I want this to be a really thin line, and I'm not really being too technical. I'm kind of just winging it with drawing this heart because I know that if it doesn't come out perfect, I can come in with my liner brush and thicken up the line further along. But before doing that, I'm going to fill it in using the detail brush. So I'm just taking the black gel polish. I haven't cured the outside line here just yet, and I'm simply going to fill the colour in. By filling it in, you can kind of see a little bit more how even it looks, or if one side is slightly smaller than the other. And that is what I actually noticed. So I do come in and make one side a little bit higher. So you'll see here, I'm just taking that liner brush from the center and making this half of the heart that little bit bigger. And then once I'm happy with this, I'll pop this into Cure. Again, I've worked really thin with the gel polish because I just find that's easier if I do make any mistakes to wipe off. So I'm going to Cure it and then come in and do a second coat. Now for the second coat, I'm just going to come in with that 01 detail brush because I've already got my outline done, which is the hardest bit to do. So that's why I opted for the thinner brush. So when it comes to filling in with the detail brush, it's really great for these intricate parts like going around the edges. So I'm just simply taking that as close as I can as possible and just simply painting in the colour just to help build up the pigmentation and make it more opaque. I'm letting my brush fan out here to create a nice crisp line, so I'm applying a bit more pressure than what I did with the liner brush. And then once again, we're going to pop that in to Cure, and then I'm going to come in and top coat it. So to top coat this one, we're going to use the Kiki London No Wipe top coat. This is one of my favourite top coats from the Kiki range because the shine is absolutely amazing, but it always sends my camera crazy when I'm trying to show you guys. Just going to apply a nice even layer of this to all of the nail and then pop that in to Cure. And again, this is where I was kind of like, should I come in and pop the matte top coat down? But I did end up leaving it glossy. But I think if I did this again, I'd definitely wear them myself matte. And this is what the finished result looked like. So I did have to dull the lighting down on the video a little bit because the top coat just sends my lighting crazy or my camera crazy, but it has such an amazing shine. Moving on to the fourth and final design, we're going to be drawing a love letter. Now I have already done the base, so I've done 2 coats of French white and a matte top coat, curing each for 30 seconds. And then I'm coming in with my striped liner brush and simply drawing a line across one corner of the nail. Now you can see I load up my brush quite often and then wipe off the excess, and that's what helps create these super thin crisp lines. And I'm just creating a rough rectangle shape. I'm wanting it to go off the nail so the whole envelope isn't on the nail, if that makes sense. You'll see as we go further along. But I'm flash curing each of the lines that I do for 10 seconds. And here you can just see I'm letting the brush do all of the work and only applying minimal pressure. I'm really not great at explaining this whole freehand nail art, but hopefully as I get better at doing it, I'll get better at explaining it. So I pop that in then to cure for a full 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on to the next step. So for the next step, I'm just coming in with a dotting tool and just popping a dot down in the center so that I know where I'm aiming for with my lines. And then I'm going to draw a line from the corner into that center. And as we get to the dot, that's when I lift my brush up. Just using the very tip to the middle part of the brush because I'm not drawing a too long line. And again, applying minimal pressure, and I'm letting the brush do all of the work for me. The hardest part of this is having a steady hand, if I'm honest. And then I'm just going to come in and finish up the last 2 lines for the envelope. And like I said, each line that I do, I am popping it into cure for 10 seconds just to give it that flash cure to hold it in place so that I don't smudge it. And here we have our envelope. I'm then going to fully cure that for 30 seconds before moving on to the next step. The next step, I'm coming in with that same wild heat that we used for the first nail. I'm just going to pop some of this down on a palette, and we're going to draw out a cute little love heart so that we can seal our envelope with a kiss. And I'm going to use that 01 detail brush to draw on the heart. And I just sort of winged this because it was only a small heart. So I'm simply just drawing around down to the center and then filling it in. Now I'm only applying 1 coat of color because I'm going to be sugaring some glitter over the top. But for now, I'm just creating the heart shape. I'm making it slightly bigger here and just taking my time with my brush to get it as neat as I can. Then going to pop that in to cure for 30 seconds, and I'm then going to top coat the entire nail. Now I'm going to top coat the entire nail and then top coat the heart again separately to apply our sugared glitter, but you need to do this layer of top coat first of all to make sure all of your gel polish design is sealed in. So I'm applying a nice thin even layer of this, and then I'm going to pop that in again to cure for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to take that 01 detailer brush again and really carefully only top coat my heart. You don't want this layer of top coat to go anywhere else other than on the heart, because wherever this top coat goes is where your glitter is going to stick to. So that's why the detail brush is fab for this, because you've got full control over the product. And then I'm going to leave this layer of top coat wet, and then I'm going to take a fine glitter mix and simply sprinkle it into that top coat. Now it doesn't matter if you get it anywhere else on the nail, it doesn't matter if at this step it looks messy, because once it has been cured, the glitter will only stick to where your top coat is, so it's only going to stick to that heart. And then once I have cured that, I'm going to take a soft brush and brush off all of that excess. You can be quite vigorous. Any little stubborn bits you can remove easily there, like I did using my nail. And here we have our sugared glitter heart love letter. I really hope you all enjoyed watching and was able to pick up some tips and tricks. Please do comment below and let me know which design was your favourite, and as always, do tag us in any recreations because we love seeing them. Do keep an eye out as well for next Friday's video, where we will be doing another Valentine's inspired set. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.